It was just another weekday in Juneau, Alaska, the kind of place where the air always smells faintly like grease and burnt coffee. I sat in the back booth of a diner in my Navy uniform waiting for my food. Outside, snowflakes drifted sideways like they weren't in a hurry to land. Inside, the hum of the fridge and distant country music filled the silence. The waitress slid a plastic container across the table. "Happy birthday," she said, like she didn't mean to say it out loud. Store-bought lemon pie. Still had the sticker on. I nodded. She didn't wait for a thank you. The whipped topping had collapsed in one corner. I peeled the lid back with my thumbnail. The fork was plastic. So was the celebration. I turned 34 that day. No calls, no texts. Just a single email from the base system reminding me to update my emergency contact. I didn't mind. Not really. Not on the surface. I was used to this. Me, the booth, the pie. Reliable. Quiet. Uncelebrated. I looked like someone holding it together, because I was. My phone buzzed against the formica. Once, then again. I glanced down, already knowing it wasn't for me, already hoping it was. 2 notifications. Instagram, my family's account. The one they used for vacations, graduations, Kelly's new projects. I clicked. There was a video, the airport in the background, JFK from the signs. My little sister Kelly stood near the terminal doors, suitcase beside her, long hair curled at the ends. My mother was filming. My father stood just behind, his arm resting on a sleek carry-on. Kelly squealed as my parents handed her something, a small envelope, gold-trimmed, decorative. I already knew what was inside. Plane tickets. "Rome!" Kelly screamed. "Are you kidding?" She turned in a circle, holding the envelope over her head like she'd won something. My mother laughed. "Surprise," she said. My dad waved at the camera, smiling. "Once-in-a-lifetime trip for our girl." The caption read, "She deserves it. Our pride and joy." Underneath, my father had commented, "She's the only one who never lets us down." The words didn't sting right away. They settled first, like frost on glass. I scrolled up, watched the video again, sound off this time. I watched Kelly's reaction frame by frame, her hands to her face, her jump, the hug, my parents laughing. I tapped the caption again, read the sentence like it was written to me. She's the only one who never lets us down. It wasn't a surprise. Not really. I'd heard versions of that line my whole life. Said softer behind closed doors, said in passing after holidays or long phone calls. She's the delicate one. She's under so much pressure. Don't be hard on her. You're strong. You always figure things out. Strong meant silence. Strong meant invisible. The waitress passed by again, refilling mugs at the other booths. I set my phone face down. A man in a Carhartt jacket laughed near the counter, something loud and easy. Outside, the snow kept falling. I didn't comment. I didn't text. I sat back and thought, quietly, carefully, how much of that Rome trip was funded by me. 6 years ago, after my dad's bypass surgery, I started sending money, not because they asked, because I offered. $300 a month, wired into a joint account. Mom said it helped them breathe a little easier. I never stopped. Through deployments, base changes, one transfer that landed me in a moldy single-bedroom apartment over a garage with pipes that screamed when the heater kicked on. I never asked how they used it. I assumed. That's what good daughters do. Emergencies, I thought. Medicine, maybe. Dental work. Groceries when the bills stacked up. I figured it was part of my role, not the favored one, not the fragile one, but the reliable one. Kelly got celebrated. I got responsibility. It didn't feel cruel. Not exactly. It just felt true. The way some things in families are. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the pie container. The plastic lid squeaked. The video had nearly 100 likes already, from extended family, from church friends, from people who hadn't spoken to me in years. She's the only one who never lets us down. Pinned, liked, applauded. I stared at the comment longer than I meant to, not because it hurt, because it confirmed something I hadn't wanted to name. My silence wasn't neutral anymore. It was consent. I left a 20 on the table and slid out of the booth. My knees cracked. My uniform felt tighter than it had that morning. Outside, the cold met me with something close to mercy. I let it. The drive back to my place was quiet. The kind of quiet you feel in your chest. I passed the same roads, the same blinking streetlight near the post office, the same faded banner for some pancake fundraiser 2 weeks past. Inside my apartment, I peeled off the uniform with slow, mechanical care, folded the pieces, placed them where I always did. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the blank ceiling. The pie went in the fridge. I didn't cry. I didn't write a message I'd later delete. I didn't call anyone. I lay back against the thin mattress, hands folded on my stomach like I was waiting for something to arrive. Nothing did, just the same silence I'd learned to live with. But that night, it felt different. Not peaceful, not earned. It felt like something sharpening itself in the dark. They didn't just forget my birthday. They erased it. Not in a cruel, obvious way, not with slammed doors or angry words. They just chose something else. Someone else. Loudly. Publicly. That caption. That comment. That video. They didn't send a message to me. They sent a message about me, and everyone saw it. I lay in bed that night with the phone still lit beside me. The screen dimmed every few minutes. I tapped it, each time hoping I'd imagined it. I hadn't. Pinned. She's the only one who never lets us down. Under Kelly's grinning face, my mother's voice behind the camera, my father's nod, proud and certain. They meant it. That was the part I couldn't shake. Not a slip. Not a phrase they'd apologize for later. They were proud of it. Of her. Of what they gave her. And of what they withheld from me. I'd watched my parents praise Kelly for things I'd done quietly years before. Her courage to travel, her discipline to save for grad school after I'd helped pay down her first loan without being asked. I never needed attention. I needed fairness. But in our family, attention was currency, and Kelly had always been rich. That night, I scrolled through her photos from Rome. I hadn't meant to. My finger moved like it had a memory of its own. A boutique in Trastevere, a view from their hotel rooftop, a dinner captioned wine, laughter, and the best company. There were hearts, applause emojis, comments like, "You deserve this, girl," and "What a beautiful family." I tapped Kelly's profile, saw the trip mapped out like a storybook, each meal, each moment. Dresses I recognized from catalogs I'd once scrolled through and quietly closed. Wine glasses catching golden light, sunlit piazzas, matching sandals my mother and sister wore. I remembered the sandals. I'd sent Mom a link to them last Christmas. She never replied. Kelly was wearing both pairs. I sat up in bed, turned the screen off, held the phone in both hands. My name wasn't mentioned once, not in the caption, not in the comments, not in the celebration, just one sentence, one pin. She's the only one who never lets us down. It wasn't new, that idea. But this time, it was different. This time, it was documented, approved, applauded, shared like a fact. I felt it settle into my body, not as pain, but as clarity. There was no mistake, no miscommunication. They had chosen who mattered, and they didn't expect me to say anything. I never had before. Not when Kelly dropped out of her first business program and Dad told everyone she was exploring her options. Not when I mailed home cash after Mom's gallbladder surgery and they told Kelly they'd managed just fine. Not when my own graduation photos from officer training were left out of the family wall collage, but Kelly's semester abroad had its own frame. I always swallowed it, always understood, always endured, because strong daughters don't ask for recognition. They make space for the ones who do. I got up, poured water from the tap. The pipes moaned like they were tired of holding up, too. The fridge hummed. The pie sat on the second shelf. I didn't touch it. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing. I thought of every form I'd filled out for them, every deadline I'd helped manage, the insurance documents, the phone upgrades, the auto pay setups, quiet work, hidden work, invisible loyalty. Rome wasn't just a vacation. It was built on my silence. That night, I opened my banking app. I wasn't looking for anything. Not yet, just checking. The joint account. Still there. My name still attached. The same account I'd been transferring $300 into every month for 6 years. For emergencies. For peace of mind. I hadn't questioned it. Not once. I was proud of that once. My consistency. My steadiness. Now, all I could think was, what did they tell people when they used that money? That it came from them? That they'd earned it? That it was Kelly's? I didn't click anything. I didn't transfer. I didn't write. I just looked, then closed the app. It wasn't the time. Not yet. I'd learned that in the Navy. Never move when you're emotional. Never speak just to make noise. Wait until the silence starts telling the truth. I went to bed. The sheets were cold. The room darker than usual. I left my phone screen up, the battery draining slow. By morning, I'd made a decision. Not a plan, not a strategy, just a truth I would no longer swallow. They made it public. So would I. I didn't react. That morning, I rose at the same time, pulled on the same PT gear, tied my boots by habit, ran the same route, the one along the water where the pavement cracks in predictable places. I didn't check my phone, didn't open messages, didn't reread anything. The wind was sharp. The cold helped. I passed the same woman walking her dog, the same maintenance truck parked near the marina, the same 2 teenagers waiting for a late bus. Nothing had changed. Not here. But in me, something had. It wasn't rage. I didn't pace or scream or rehearse speeches in the shower. I didn't scroll through their photos again or write a response I wouldn't send. I just moved differently. I got back to the apartment, showered, changed, sat on the edge of my bed, same as the night before. Only this time, the stillness felt intentional. I thought about the money. 6 years, $300 a month. Quiet, automatic transfers. No holidays skipped, no explanations ever requested. Not even when I had to stretch rations between deployments or settle for base meals that tasted like salt and compromise. The account was listed under all our names, mine, Mom's, Dad's, but the tone of the text had always been clear. We're just holding it for you. It's still yours. I never touched it, never checked, until now. I powered on my laptop, entered the login with fingers steadier than I expected. The dashboard loaded. Nothing had changed, on the surface. Groceries, pharmacy charges, utility payments. But further down, things looked different. There it was, a $5,200 charge to a travel agency in New York, processed 2 weeks ago. The name matched the tags on Kelly's photos. Luxury accommodation, international departure. Next entry, a transaction at a boutique in Rome, 850 euros. Shoes, probably. Maybe the dress she wore to that rooftop dinner. Then, transfer to Kelly, note, for being awesome. No decimal point, no context. Just a sentence I could hear my mother saying, light and flippant. She deserves it. I closed the tab, sat back, not angry, not shocked, just done. I had been funding someone else's freedom while I lived off rehydrated meals and secondhand furniture. I scrolled through the statement, ran the totals. Over $40,000 across 6 years. Quiet withdrawals, thoughtless indulgences, not emergencies, not needs, wants. Wants dressed up as gratitude. I minimized the screen, let the silence settle in again. In training, we learned how to sit in stillness, how to wait without letting your body twitch, without your breath giving you away. Control wasn't loud, it was patient. That was what I felt now, not vengeance, not bitterness, clarity. I opened a new tab, typed in the credit union's number, called, pressed the options, waited through the hold music. "Hi," I said when the voice picked up. She sounded young, polite, efficient. "I'd like to withdraw funds from a joint account, entire balance." She asked for ID verification. I gave her everything, my service number, my security phrases, the last deposit. She paused. "Are you aware," she asked carefully, "that this account is shared?" "I am," I said, "and I'm the primary contributor." Another pause. "Understood," she replied. No argument, just that one word. I logged out of the online portal, closed the laptop, sat there for a moment longer, watching the light shift across the floor. The day continued like nothing had happened. The base ran its drills. The mess hall served rubbery eggs. Paperwork came in, got filed, went out. At 1800, I received the email confirmation. Transfer successful. Account closed. Balance secured. I didn't forward it. I didn't mention it. But something about the act, not the money, but the movement, restored something. My name was on a new account now, a clean one. No more shared logins, no silent deductions, no quiet theft. It felt like locking a door I hadn't realized was open. I brewed tea, ate pasta from the pot, let my shoulders drop. No explanations, no speeches. Just action. Later that night, I lay on the couch with the lights off. The window open to the cold. I heard a message come in, then another. I didn't check. Let them sit. The silence was no longer absence. It was boundary. The next morning, I woke early. Not because I had to, because something in me had decided there would be no delay. I sat with coffee I didn't finish, looked out the window at the parking lot, the frost on windshields, the pale light not fully committed to the day. My uniform hung over the back of the chair. I didn't reach for it yet. Instead, I opened the banking app again, not to second guess, to confirm. The money was gone, moved, secured. The joint account sat at zero. It looked hollow. I stared at it a moment longer, like standing over something you've buried. Then I logged out. I opened the photo app, scrolled until I found the one that had done it. Kelly at the airport. That gold envelope in her hands. My father smiling like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. My mother's caption, still pinned, "She deserves it." I took a screenshot, not to share, to keep. Evidence, in case the rewriting started. I knew how they rewrote things. They'd done it before. When I stopped coming home for holidays, it became, "She's so busy with her career." When I declined to co-sign on Kelly's second loan, "She's always been distant." When I sent money without fanfare, "She never really contributes, but she's doing okay." That was the story, that I was fine. Fine meant they didn't owe me anything. Fine meant they could take what I gave and forget where it came from. I showered, got dressed, pulled on boots, walked to the local credit union in the center of town, the kind with winter salt crusted on the steps and a cracked leather chair in the waiting area. The teller was around my age, brown hair, no ring, precise eyeliner. She looked up, saw the badge clipped to my collar. Her tone changed. "Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you today?" "I need to move my money," I said. "All of it." She didn't blink, just nodded and asked for ID. I slid it across the counter. My Navy card. Government issued. Nothing flashy. Her eyes scanned it, then looked up again. Something shifted in her posture. "Of course," she said. "Right away." She tapped her keyboard, asked a few more questions, all procedural. A few signatures later, it was done. "Is there anything else I can help with?" "No," I said. "This was everything." She smiled politely, professionally, then added, "If anyone else tries to access this, would you like a flag on the account?" "Yes." She clicked something. Done. I thanked her and left. Outside, the cold didn't feel quite as biting. It wasn't warmth, it was control. I walked to a nearby bench. Saturday. Watch traffic pass. Watch strangers live their lives. People walking in pairs. A man pushing a shopping cart with one squeaky wheel. A woman on her phone, laughing at something I couldn't hear. Normal. I sat for a long time, hands in my pockets. The emails would start soon, the texts, the calls. They always came after the balance changed, but for now, it was still quiet. I closed my eyes, let the wind press against my face. That silence, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned, like something had been held back for years and was just now returning to me. Not love, not praise, just space. And that was enough. It took less than 48 hours. The silence didn't last. It never does, not when money disappears. First it was the missed calls, 7 in a row from my mother, then 4 from my father, 1 from Kelly, then more, scattered through the afternoon from numbers I recognized as cousins, aunts, people I hadn't heard from in years. Then the texts began. What's going on? Mom's worried sick. Is everything okay with your account? Did you mean to close it? Call Dad, call Kelly, call someone. I didn't reply. They hadn't called on my birthday. They hadn't called when they took. But now, with the money gone, they remembered how to dial. The shift was so fast it would have made me laugh if anything about it had been funny. But it wasn't. It was predictable. I waited, watched, documented. Then came the Facebook post. My mother, of course. She uploaded a photo of an old family trip. Kelly and me in front of a lighthouse, ages 10 and 12. Kelly smiling. Me mid-blink, half-turned, like I already sensed something off. The caption read, "Sometimes the strongest ones hurt us the most, praying for healing and understanding." She tagged me, not Kelly, not my father, me. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't about confusion. It wasn't a misunderstanding. They weren't seeking answers. They were building a narrative, one where I was the problem, the cold one, the dramatic one, the difficult daughter who snapped for no reason. It was strategy, not grief, a preemptive defense against a truth they weren't prepared to face. I stared at the post, read it twice. Then I took a screenshot. I didn't comment. Not yet. I wasn't going to be baited into emotion. I just opened a new folder on my desktop, named it plainly, Family Account Closure, and started dropping everything in, screenshots, statements, transfer history, the travel agency charge, the boutique receipt, evidence. If they wanted to play it public, they'd better hope their story could survive daylight. I had learned in uniform what records meant. Emotions faded, facts stayed, and what I had now were facts. I scrolled through my own messages, not the ones they'd sent, but the ones I'd written over the years. Happy birthdays, transfer confirmations, check-ins during Dad's recovery, offers to help when Kelly's startup failed, quiet, steady footprints of care. Not one had been acknowledged in the post, not one made it into their version, because in their version, I was just money. And when the money stopped, I became the problem. That clarity wasn't a wound, it was a mirror. I sat with it. Then I opened a blank document, typed a single paragraph, not for publication, not yet, just for me. In 6 years, I sent over $40,000 to a joint account with my parents. I did it without being asked, without praise, without expectation. They used it for luxury trips, boutique shopping, and personal gifts to my younger sister, who they've called their pride and joy publicly while forgetting my birthday. When I closed the account, I received no questions, only accusations, only silence turned weapon. I read it once, saved it. They wanted to control the story, but I was done being quiet. There was no confrontation, no phone call, just a boundary, firm, quiet, absolute. They thought they could frame me as selfish, but I had the receipts, and I had time. I made a cup of tea, did the dishes, went for a run. That evening, I got an email from the credit union, just confirming we've flagged the account per your request. Any attempted access will result in a notification sent directly to you. No third parties may claim authority without legal documentation. I replied, "Thank you." That was all. I slept well that night. No calls, no alarms. Just a stillness that didn't ache. By morning, the narrative had legs. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years started liking my mother's post. Some added comments. "So sorry you're going through this. Sending love." Family will find its way back. Others DM'd me directly, half curious, half accusing. Did something happen? Your mom seems devastated. I hope you can work things out. She's heartbroken. No one asked what I needed, only why I'd made things so public. I hadn't said a word, but they had, loudly, preemptively, in pictures and captions and emojis. I went to work like normal, logged hours, filed reports, helped a new recruit prep for their first evaluation, professional, focused, unbothered. When I came home, there were voicemails waiting, 8 in total. My mother, soft-voiced, tight with restraint. We just want to talk. Can we talk? Please don't make this uglier than it needs to be. My father clipped. You're overreacting. This isn't how adults handle things. Kelly didn't leave a message. She just texted, "Wow." That was it. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have words, because none of them deserved the version of me that explained gently. Not anymore. That night, they posted again, a group shot from Rome, all 3 of them on the Spanish steps, sunglasses, wine glasses, sunburned shoulders. The caption said, "Grateful for family. Even when they can't be here, they're still in our hearts." I wasn't tagged. They knew what they were doing. The words were chosen to wound but still sound virtuous. That's how they operated. Control wrapped in sentiment. I sat on my couch, tea cooling beside me, and finally understood something simple. They didn't want conversation. They wanted control. I had taken something from them, not just the money, the silence. My silence had made their version of the story possible. Without it, their image fractured, and that was why they were panicking. They weren't afraid of losing me. They were afraid of what I might say now that I'd stopped paying for the privilege of being ignored. That thought didn't make me angry. It made me calm. Because once you see the mechanism, it stops being magic. I opened Facebook, clicked on the post, hovered over the comment field. I could have written something vague, something indirect, but I wasn't aiming for drama. I was aiming for precision. I typed, "I've sent you over $40,000 across 6 years to help with medical expenses and bills. Instead, you used it on international vacations, shopping, and gifts for Kelly. You forgot my birthday and called her your only pride. I took my money back because I was being used, not supported. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with truth." I reread it once. Then I hit post, closed the laptop, and went to make dinner. I didn't check reactions, didn't refresh, didn't hover. I set my phone in a drawer. When I pulled it out 2 hours later, there were 39 notifications. Some people unfollowed me. Some replied with silence. Others messaged quietly. Finally, someone said it. I always wondered how they afforded those trips. An uncle I barely knew wrote, "Good on you. Proud of how you handled it." Kelly didn't reply. My mother didn't either. Not directly. But a cousin shared a Bible verse on her story about honoring parents. No caption, just the verse. Passive retaliation, righteous, deluded, let them. That night, I wrote down a sentence on the back of a receipt. They taught me silence was maturity, but it was just convenience. I taped it to my fridge. No one came knocking. No one showed up with paperwork. No one threatened legal action because they had nothing but noise. And I had records. I expected backlash. Instead, I got silence. Not peace, not understanding. Just a pause. Strategic, calculated. The kind of quiet that follows a failed performance, when the audience doesn't clap and the actors aren't sure whether to bow or leave the stage. They didn't delete the post. They didn't respond publicly. But the tone shifted. The messages stopped being angry. They became wounded. "We didn't mean to hurt you. You should have come to us directly. You've embarrassed the family. You made this ugly." Every sentence designed to put the blame back where it had always rested, on me, the strong one, the silent one, the easy target. Only this time the silence was theirs, and the target moved. I logged in again and watched the engagement slow. My comment stayed pinned, unread publicly but definitely read privately. You can always tell by the deletions. The cousin who quietly untagged herself. The family friend who messaged me a heart and then removed her like from my mother's post. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I did one thing. I changed the beneficiary information on every account that still listed them. Retirement, savings, life insurance, even the old will I'd never thought to update. I replaced their names with my own, no dramatics. Just a few clicks, a few notarized forms, a notary who didn't ask questions, only confirmed my ID. The document folder thickened, and I waited. 2 days passed, then 4, then a week, nothing. That was the sign. They weren't going to apologize. They were going to outlast. It had always been their strategy. Wait for me to cool down, act like nothing happened, reframe the story so my reaction became the only strange part. It might have worked before. It didn't now. The morning it turned, I was on base, clearing out an old locker to make room for incoming personnel. A new recruit walked in, nervous, said he'd heard about what happened on the Family Readiness Group forum. I blinked. What do you mean? He hesitated. Someone shared a screenshot, said you were going through something. Your sister commented on it. I finished tying the lock on the storage cage. What did she say? He shrugged. Just that you were dealing with mental health stuff, that the military had changed you, that you were in transition. There it was, the second narrative. They couldn't paint me as cruel. That hadn't stuck. So now I was unstable, unwell, untrustworthy. I felt my pulse slow, not speed up. That was how I knew I'd changed. No panic, just the next step. I went to my supervisor, filed a formal note that my family had begun making unsolicited public statements about my health, finances, and identity, that their access to any base-level family support should be revoked until further notice. He didn't question it. He'd seen it before. I also submitted a request to redact them from any emergency contact forms. The digital umbilical cord, cut. Later that day, I logged into Facebook one final time, wrote a new post, public, no tagging, no names, just truth. If you're wondering why there's tension, here's what I've withheld. Over 6 years, I contributed more than $40,000 to a joint account I was told was for family emergencies. The funds were used for luxury vacations, personal shopping, and gifts that excluded me. I was never acknowledged. I was called distant. I was told I was strong. When I withdrew my money, I was called cruel, accused of mental instability, all because I stopped being silent. I'm not broken. I'm not lost. I just stopped financing a lie. I added nothing more. No hashtags. No photos. I turned off the comments. Posted it. Then I logged out. For good. By the time dinner rolled around, 2 people had texted me, quietly, "You didn't deserve that. They've done it before, just not this publicly." One of them was a cousin I hadn't seen in a decade. The other was an old friend of Kelly's. That was all I needed to know. I didn't want war. I wanted the truth to exist. Now it did. And they couldn't reach it without facing it. The days that followed didn't feel like aftermath. They felt like adjustment. I kept waiting for something to break, orders to change, a formal inquiry, a knock at the door. It didn't come. No calls from command, no visits from base personnel. My contract remained intact, my security clearance untouched, because the system didn't care about family drama. It cared about performance, timing, protocol, and I hadn't broken any rules. I showed up, filed reports, ran drills, ate meals. No one pulled me aside. If anyone whispered, they did it softly. And even then, they only whispered once. Because what I had said didn't sound like madness. It sounded like math. And math holds. I finished a logistics course I'd put off for 3 years, registered late one night, halfway through a pot of tea and a podcast I didn't finish, passed the first 2 modules in one sitting, because there was space now, no more unspoken obligations hovering over every free moment. No more mental checklists shaped like someone else's problems. I still woke early, still ran, still kept my boots lined by the door. Discipline hadn't left me, but guilt had. That was the difference. I went to the store without checking my balance, bought a new pair of gloves, not because I needed them, but because I liked the way they fit, signed up for a weekend course on certifications I didn't technically need, did it anyway, because for the first time in years, my energy wasn't leaking into people who saw me as a resource instead of a person. The silence came in slow. At first, they tried. My mother sent a long message, careful tone, pleading edge. She never mentioned the money, just said she missed her girl. I didn't reply. Then came my father. Whatever happened, we still love you. Whatever happened. As if they hadn't documented it themselves in selfies and receipts. As if happened was something passive, something unfortunate. I didn't reply to him either. Kelly sent a single emoji, thumbs down. It made me laugh once, quietly. They had nothing left but tactics. And without my participation, they looked like what they were, loud, defensive, cornered by their own story. I brewed tea every night that week, sat at my table, wrote things down on paper again, goals, expenses, a list of places I wanted to see that had nothing to do with anyone else's dreams. I took long walks in the cold, no earbuds, no soundtrack, let the wind bite, let my thoughts unspool without structure. The silence wasn't punishment anymore. It was peace. And peace doesn't announce itself. It just arrives, slowly, and sits with you until you realize you've stopped bracing. That weekend, I cleaned the apartment top to bottom, reorganized the closet, donated clothes that felt like obligations, recycled every envelope from home, shredded the old joint account paperwork, not out of anger, just closure, like folding a map you didn't need anymore. I didn't check their pages again. Didn't wonder if they'd posted, didn't scroll, because I already knew. They would either adjust to the new boundaries, or they wouldn't. Either way, I wasn't managing their discomfort anymore. I'd spent years mistaking quiet for grace. Now I understood the difference. Grace is offering someone the chance to meet you with respect. Silence is what you give them when they don't. And I'd given enough. If any of this felt familiar, if you've ever been the steady one, the strong one, the one they count on but never celebrate, I want to tell you something simple. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty. Taking back what's yours isn't revenge. Silence is not always grace. Sometimes it's erasure. You're not wrong for noticing who claps when your sister wins and who goes quiet when you survive. You're not selfish for stepping away from people who only call when they need something. And if you ever find yourself standing at a counter, ID in hand, asking for what's already yours, know that you're not alone. Some of us learn to serve before we learn to ask. Some of us were raised to carry weight without complaint. But the truth is, you don't have to earn what you've already given. You can stop. You can rest. You can walk away. And when you're ready, tell me what you've walked away from. I'll be here, quiet, but listening.